Let me introduce the second testimony of a girl in our midst in all her life. She was living in a life, and how she find true forgiveness and complete freedoms in Jesus.
Things are not always what they seem. Some truths may be hidden from us by people whom we love and trust the most. Perhaps in an effort to protect us. But there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. My parents must have been inspired when they named me Joy. I've always been a very joyful person. Growing up in Iloilo City, which is known for their colorful festivals, I think I soaked up all the color and excitement, being in a happy and a comfortable family. I was the youngest of 6 siblings, and everyone knows the youngest always get what they want, right? And I had everything that a young girl could ever wish for. Endless gifts and toys, a generous family, and all the love and attention that my parents could give. At the age of 14, my parents died one after the other in the span of a few months. It was the saddest moment of my life. But little did I know that their death is only the beginning of a series of events that would leave me devastated. 2 years after their death, I overheard 2 of my older sisters arguing in our house. It was Ate Bing and Ate Jackie.
Ate, bakit ba hindi mo ba sabihin ang totoo?
Napag-usapan na natin ito.
But she is entitled to know the truth.
Shut up! This has been closed for 20 years and you don't need to open it again.
CJ deserves the love of a mother. And you're the only one who can give her that. Because you are the real mother.
I had enough of this conversation.
And so she told me the entire truth. And that was how I found out that my whole life was a lie. That the parents that I had grown up with were actually my grandparents. And that Ate Bing was my real mother. Everything came crashing down before me. They kept me from knowing my true self, my identity. Questions overwhelmed me. Was I so horrible? So imperfect that my real mother couldn't even stand to have me as a daughter? That she could disown me just like that for the first 20 years of my life? I hated the idea of moving in with her. I didn't like her as a sister, and now I hated her as a mother. I wanted her to know that the feeling was mutual. I wanted her to feel the hurt that I was feeling, to break her heart the way that she had shattered mine. I stopped trying to communicate with her. If she didn't want me as a daughter, then I didn't want her as my mother either. I tried to find comfort in others. I ran away from home, going from one place to another, drifting from one failed relationship to the next. I never really found what I was looking for. My sorrow was a heavy burden that sat in my heart like a rock, and nothing I did ever made it go away. Tired and weary, I ended up at my Tita Jackie's house. She welcomed me and lovingly introduced me to Christ. She opened my eyes to the fact that I was broken. I can still remember the very words that Tita Jackie shared to me as I was searching for answers. Was the one from Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 to 6. To trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. I desperately prayed to God to get me out of Iloilo. I didn't care where, but as far away from my mother as possible. When I arrived in Singapore, I thought that I could put my hatred and bitterness behind me, and that I could live as though my mother and her unforgiving heart did not exist. Then, a group of young people approached me in Orchard Road. They invited me to come to their care group, and so I went with them, as yet unaware that it was going to be the start of the wonderful changes that God wanted to make in my life. I felt uncomfortable as I listened to the pastor preaching that Sunday, as I knew that God was breaking down the walls that I have been putting up all these years. With tears streaming down my cheeks, I finally surrendered and accepted Christ as my personal Lord and Savior. When I went back home to Iloilo for a vacation, God moved me to settle what's in my heart once and for all.
I want a heart that forgives, a heart full of love, one with compassion just like yours above, one that overcomes evil, goodness and love, like it never happened, never holding a grudge. I want a heart that forgives, that lives and lets live, one that keeps loving over and over again, one that man can defend because your word is within, one that loves without price like your Lord Jesus Christ. I want a heart that loves everybody, even my enemies. I want to love like you, be like you, just like you did. Want a heart that forgives.
By God's grace, my mom and I were finally able to talk openly and settle things in a gentle and loving way. And I knew even as we talked that God is truly the God of forgiveness and restoration. He healed our broken hearts that night, took away all the bitterness and replaced it with the sweetness of His love. Now, I continue to serve God, abiding in Him and trusting His word always. I used to think that I was unknown, unwanted, and unloved. Now I know that I am precious in the eyes of God, welcomed by my care group family, and loved by my Ate Bing, who I now dearly call Mama. Families may not be perfect, but through those imperfections, we long to seek perfection with our Father. He is the God of love, and He is the reason that I am able to stand today, free and forgiven, and once again, truly the joy